Today we have Janet Brush, founder of Senior Alternatives, a Bay Area-based care management and home care organization, speaking on the topic of dealing with resistance towards accepting home care assistance. Ms. Brush is a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed professional fiduciary, and has 2 master's degrees, social work and gerontology.
Thank you for joining us in our conversation about dealing with resistance with your senior family member accepting caregiving. So I think the first thing that's really important to keep in mind is, why is your family member being resistant? And there's an entire psychological reason behind this. It's an acceptance process, taking a caregiver into your home. They're dealing with loss of independence. Okay, they can no longer handle their activities of daily living. They're dealing with a loss of control over their life. I mean, could you imagine not being able to fully handle everything in your life? And this creates somewhat of a grief process. And so they're going through that, and at the same time, you're trying to get them to take a new person into their life, and it's just an awful lot for them. So a good recommendation is to try and open up a dialogue with your family member about this and about what they might be feeling. At Senior Alternatives, we use a few different approaches that seem to be very effective in getting the senior family member to accept help. One is giving them a lot of control in the process, so they might be there interviewing the agency that they're going to choose. They would have a say in what the caregiver is going to do and how many hours. A second approach is to start slowly. Now, the only way to do that is to start early. So hopefully you're not coming to an agency to get caregiving when mom already needs 24-hour care, and you can start early, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, 4 hours a day. That gives the person a little bit more control. Another idea that's been very effective is to sit down with mom and say, Mom, what are your goals for the end of your life? And people will often say, I want to remain healthy, I want to stay in my home, and I want to spend time with my family. And then what we do is show a correlation of how taking some help early on actually reduces the chances of risk factors, thereby reducing the chances of health issues occurring. So if you have a caregiver, and we actually explain this to the senior, they'll notice that you're not drinking as enough, so you're not going to be as dehydrated. They're driving you around, so you're less likely to get into a car accident. And we just kind of go into that senior's own personal needs and just kind of show a correlation of how having a caregiver not only helps them to reach their goals, but empowers them to maintain their current level of activity in their life. Another strategy that has been successful, which I think is kind of, I'm putting it at the bottom of the list because it's not the first one you want to draw upon, is if all else fails, appeal to their parent side and say, you know, Mom, you need to do this for me. I'm worrying about you all day and I'm having a hard time managing the children. It's really upsetting me. Again, it's one of the last strategies that we would say to use because it really is drawing upon their emotion, but it actually works. And it's certainly a lot better than not doing anything at all and then mom ending up falling, hurting her hip, going into a rehab facility. Then she's really miserable, and then she's coming home with 24-hour care. So the last thing I'd like to bring up is probably the most important thing in making a transition successful with caregiving is to get the right caregiver. And at Senior Alternatives, what we do is we send out a master level social worker to really take a look at what's going on with the person. What are their psychological issues, their psychological dynamics? What do they need? Do they need a strong personality? Do they need someone that just kind of lays back and cues them? And the social worker really gets a good handle on what their needs are, both physically and emotionally, and sets up a really good psychologically based transition plan and helps implement that with a lot of communication with the caregiver early on, a lot of communication with the client and the family, so that communication goes smoothly. And we have found 100% of the time that if you get the right caregiver in there, that the family member, all of a sudden the resistance is gone and they're feeling much happier, much more secure in their life, and are happy to have the assistance. So thank you for joining us today.
To learn more about how Senior Alternatives can help you deal with resistance in your elders, Please visit our website at www.bayareaseniorcare.com. Senior Alternatives also offers free 45-minute initial consultations to discuss many care planning issues.